The Debt Management Office of Nigeria today listed the pioneer Federal Government of Nigeria 100 billion naira Sukuk bond at the FMDQ OTC exchange. Giving her remarks at the listing ceremony, the Director General of the Debt Management Office, Ms. Pat Oniha, gave further insight on the significance of the bond to Nigeria's economy.
The Sukuk, as we know, was for 100 billion and for 7 years at 16.47, which is the rate that is there. There are several questions around it. Why did we raise the money? And in the documents we used in raising the money, we gave several reasons. But I think for this occasion, I'd like to just speak more to two reasons why we raised the money. There are other reasons about diversification, deepening the market. Okay, that's something we've been doing for many years. But I think perhaps the single most important aspect of the Sukuk is raising money directly for infrastructure. I don't think we need to talk about how we don't have enough infrastructure and how that has limited significantly our growth and our potentials. Whether it be power, whether it be roads, whether it be rail, we've had challenges with all of those. So I think for us the most important thing is to be able to raise funds that are project tied, and we can see them, and we know that they have economic value. So in some way, and would like to say the Sukuk really was an infrastructure bond. And in describing it, I would say for the people who invested in it, they were investing for the future, and they were also investing in the future because we will see those roads. They remain there for a long time. Okay, so I think the second point I'd like to mention in terms of why did we issue the Sukuk is also to talk about financial inclusion. Most of us would know, at least in the financial sector, that is a major objective of the FSS 2020, and I think a number of the banks are doing several products so we can reach the unbanked. So the Sukuk is one aspect of that, to be able to reach out to those who will not invest in conventional products. So what does it do? It promotes participation in the markets, but it also brings out the pool of funds that are not in the formal sector into the informal sector, and then the domestic capital base increases. So to that extent, I think even if we just talk about only those two, we have come a long way in issuing the Sukuk. We can assure the parties here that those projects were the funds were definitely warehoused and are being used specifically for those projects.
The MD CEO of FBN Quest, Mr. Kayode Akinkugbe, and Mrs. Hajara Adeola, MD CEO, Lotus Financial Services, both described the bond as an attestation to the hard work and commitment in providing an infrastructure bond that will have wide socio-economic impact on the nation.
Really a lot of work and a lot of credit has to be given to the DMO for ultimately succeeding with this transaction. For advisors, there's nothing better than having a client that has an objective and a plan and a determination to succeed. So really, I think you've made our job, if I may say, a lot easier. And we're really opportune to be able to share this success with you. I also will commend the FMDQ team. As we heard earlier, they didn't just wake up and stumble into Sukuk. They have been working methodically to be able to understand and provide, the market with the benefits that we can ultimately get from having this new instrument that helps us with the whole financial inclusion and helps a lot with ultimately raising longer-term money from a wider pool of investors. So again, I commend the FMDQ team, and really to all the other advisors. We all enjoyed the experience. Not easy to raise 100 billion for a new instrument. We had a lot of support from CBN, I think, in terms of providing some of the benefits normally ascribed to a typical FGN issue, which enabled more investors to be more confident about investing. I think, as the DG has pointed out, the next step now is to make sure it's liquid, and I think we all have our part to play as traders and as brokers in that regard.
This Sukuk is affecting roads, 25 roads in 6 geopolitical zones of this country. All over this country, roads are being affected. People's journeys are easier. Hopefully, road deaths are being assuaged and the economic routes are being opened up. For the liquidity, I think the best way to assure liquidity is to make sure there is no sense of scarcity. So all I can do is appeal to the federal government, the DMO, and all those who take this decision to do more of Sukuk, so that people feel there's more coming, and then they're more willing to let go of that which they bought and trade it in the secondary market.
Highlights of the event was the formal signing ceremony of the listing. Ms. Pat Oniha and Mrs. Hajara Adeola speak further on the Sukuk bond.
Financial inclusion simply means giving everybody who is eligible, who can, the opportunity to participate. So all the securities issued by the government are conventional securities, be it in the domestic market or the international. So they are conventional instruments. That meant that some investors may not be able to participate. But those investors, potential investors they are, have capital. Okay, so by giving them an opportunity, it's like bringing them into the fold, into the market, making them having a sense of belonging. But also means that capital that was trapped before comes into the financial system. So it serves those two purposes. And like I said, it's a goal for the financial system anyway. We want to make sure everybody who can participate is not excluded, has the opportunity and can. The second important point that I highlighted today is that of infrastructure. I think it will be overstating it if we say we don't know that infrastructure can transform Nigeria, both from the point of the SMEs, the vulcanizer who has to buy a little generator. So if you look at it, both formal and informal sector, infrastructure is capable of transforming the economy. So if we have roads, what will happen? Apart from safety, people being able to move safely, it means we can move goods, people can move. There's more mobility, the cost of transportation will be easier, and that should translate into the sale price, and we're all the better for it. So that's how we see the Sukuk. The way to describe it is like it's an infrastructure bond. We've called it a Sukuk, because of the special way it was structured. Infrastructure is huge for Nigeria. If you check what this administration has been doing, they prioritized spending for capital. So if you look at 2017 already to date, over 1.2 trillion naira has been released for capital projects. If you compare that to 500 billion and less previously, that shows that things are improving. Okay, so we're working in tandem with the government on infrastructure.
This innovation, we're delighted because it's a project-tied bond. So, as you know, the government's budget is spent on either recurrent expenditure or capital expenditure. The philosophy behind the Sukuk and the way it's structured means that it's capital tied. In this case, 25 roads in the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria were being addressed by this Sukuk. So the very, very fulfilling part of it is that doing something for the first time, which can always be a bit challenging, we were successful. We was oversubscribed. We had a very large retail component, which was interesting, and which achieved the objective of financial inclusion, which was one of the issues that we're trying to address with the Sukuk. But most importantly, we're going to address and resurface and refurbish, and in some cases, new roads, economic roads that are going to unleash some of the economic potential across Nigeria, and also make our roads safer, easier, smoother, more enjoyable for all of us in Nigeria. So it's really a delight to have been part of this landmark issue. And we think we've established a concept. We've had proof of concept now, and with the appetite we got from the market and the results that we're seeing with the roads. The DGDMO just mentioned that they've just concluded last week an inspection of some of those roads, and both the quality of the roads and the impact those roads are having on the communities that they're opening up is quite remarkable. So we think it's one of the avenues that the federal government should continue to pursue to, first of all, diversify our sources of capital, and also to diversify the market and the types of people who would participate in the market, and ensuring that at least a significant portion of the debt that we raise is going towards infrastructure development, which is going to have a big impact on our economy in Nigeria.
Described as an infrastructure bond that is project tied to the rehabilitation of 25 federal roads, the Sukuk bond with over 106% subscription brings a new chapter to non-interest capital market instruments in Nigeria.